I was 19. I was I suffered a lot of headaches during my teens, up to my late teens. But this particular morning, I had got on my motorbike and went to go to work. When we had at the other end of our little village town, we had a real double S bends, which was like 2-3 accidents there a week because people just misjudged it. And I actually took the wrong lane. I got trapped against the curb. When I can't say for how many seconds, it went black, and I was just literally felt like I was whisked straight out of my body. I was whisked into, all I could describe it was blackness, and there was millions of sparkly lights. Then I appeared onto a higher round, what I call it, and there was a white bridge in front of me with a magnificent being on the other side. And above in the, well, I think it might have been the sky, was a beautiful sun-like object which didn't hurt when you looked into it, but that was shining down over his left shoulder. I looked to my right, my left, sorry, and there was hundreds of people in this field, hundreds of them. And two I immediately recognised was my gran, who died approximately a year before, and her sister, who died approximately 5-6 months before this accident. They looked so healthy, just so fit, so much younger than when they died. And they was like swirling about this field like they was chasing this blue ball. Now, I have no idea. But when I looked to my right, I perfectly saw this side. So I saw my body all crumpled up. I saw a guy in a old Morris Marina. He stopped. He came running over. He cradled my head. And he was saying, "Wake up, wake up." And I was like, all I could describe it, I was actually sort of like standing by the side of him. And I could just like physically reach out and just touch him. And he just kept saying, wake up, just rocking me. And meanwhile, I had these words come into my head. "Gary, would you like to stay for eternal peace and happiness, or would you like to go back?" And I was 19, and I thought, oh my God, this will kill my mother if I died. And I'm like, and I just thought, I would like to go back, please. And I just upended, and I just floated back into my body. And then I started to come round. I have no idea who called the ambulance. And I was like so out of it. They took me up to the hospital, and I wasn't really like conscious. I don't remember going into the theatre or anything. It was only sort of like several hours later when I appeared on the ward and started to come round, when I started to try and make sense of it all, because it was like, what on earth happened?
My near-death experience actually occurred in America, North Carolina, and I actually went to bed thinking it was just another night. I woke up at about 2 o'clock in the morning and I could not breathe. So I do get a little bit scared saying, you think you're just going to bed and it could be your last night. So it is a bit of a scary thing that happened to me. I went to the toilet and I died on the toilet. I was clinically dead for what the ambulance are terming 14 minutes, due to that was the time when my husband, or should I say ex-husband, he came and found me. He ran back and got the phone, rang 911, which is the emergency in America. And then when the first paramedics turned up, it was 14 minutes. That's one of the things that I do get asked a lot is, where is the proof of what occurs to people when they die? We could all say, oh, yes, I went and saw this light. I was standing in the field of flowers, etc. But it's extremely hard to prove that. I say to people that I was there for 5 years. So we've got to break that down because I was actually in 3 different places. I first appeared in the field of flowers. So the flowers were intelligent. They moved underneath me, and they knew that I had not learnt yet that I was not using gravity to stand on them. It was very intriguing me. So I was in this place for about a year. Then I went to my life review, which is also the cover of my book. So this is where I am in front of who I call the big 3. In this box was a box of my memories, and these were energetic beings who were overseeing me looking at all my memories to heal the actions that I'd done in my lifetime. So it was called the Life Review. This picture here is me holding one of the memories like a TV screen. I'm a baby and I'm holding my grandmother's cat and I'm pulling its tail. So instantly I become the cat, and it's that perspective of looking back at this little girl called Linda, and I can feel what this pain is like going down through my tails that she caused me. But then I went to another place, which I call the white space, because there was no rooms, there was no wall, ceiling, or floor. And in this room, I met my relative, who was my great, 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 great grandmother. So her and we spoke for about, I would say, about 2 years. She told me a lot of things about my future life from 2001 forward. She told me that, like personal information, she said, next year you're going to start working with the police and you'll work with the police for 10 years. So I had this event in 2001. I came back to Australia about 2 months later in September 2001. And she said that I'd start with the police in about a year. And I started with the police in September 2002. And she said that I'd be there for 10 years, and I left there in 2012. So I was there for 10 years. Then she said I'd be a first aid trainer for 2 years, which I was. So I'm going to take that. She told me about my daughter. So all these things to me are confirmations that prove to me that this existed, where there's so many people on the planet who have got no evidence to support their experience. So I like talking about what she was telling me, because she was telling me all about our life lessons, our life contracts. And then she said, don't go in there, because if you go in there, you'll never be able to go back to your body. And I looked at her and I said, what do you mean I can't go in there? And I've turned around, and here's the picture I drew. Behind me was the big tunnel. It was spiraling both ways at once, clockwise and counterclockwise. And I could see it had a big white light at the end of it. And so this is my great-great-great-great-grandmother and me still in my pajamas. And I wanted to go into this tunnel. It was very attractive, like a magnet. I could feel myself going into it. So she explained to me how reincarnation works, how there is no time. Because here on Earth, we do watch our clocks and watches, and we base it on the time of the Earth going around the sun.
The situation itself was in a school swimming pool. I don't remember too much of the lead up to it. I didn't have very good swimming skills at the time, and I'd gone into the deep end of the school swimming pool. I was okay so long as I could have feet on the bottom, but in this situation, I didn't. I thought I'd be okay, but obviously not. I lost contact with the edge of the pool, was out beyond reach, and I just started sinking. And I remember panicking. There was quite a great sense of panic. I was trying to get to the top. I couldn't. And the one thing that happened clearly that came through is I remember that first mouthful of water. And as soon as it hit my lungs, I was gone. It's like there was no body awareness. I was aware of this tunnel of light, which is the classic description, but it really was. And it wasn't just a visual experience, it was a tactile experience as well. It was soft, it was gentle, but it was drawing me along this tunnel. And it wasn't going directly upwards, it was sort of forward and probably at about a 35-degree angle. So it was going out on an angle, and I was just drawn into it. And I sort of popped out on the other side, which was almost like being born onto the other side. And as I popped out, I noticed that it once again had a very gentle tactile sensation. It was almost like standing on cotton wool, but it was solid enough to support me. And that sort of environment and tactile sensation was available everywhere. My feelings weren't limited to just my body. I could feel virtually everything in the atmosphere, even what appeared to be the air itself had a tactile sensation. Everything had a sense of presence. When I started orientating to where I was, I moved forward a bit and the scene appeared before me where I had like a pond in front of me. It was probably 15, 20 meters wide. And on the other side was a gentleman sitting in a chair with a classic long white beard, a very gentle presence. There was a lot of blue, sort of above, almost like sky, but not quite, but just around in the atmosphere itself. There was something that appeared like grass, but was a different color to grass, but yet had a similarity to it. But the focus I had was virtually on this gentleman. And we started almost interacting, but it wasn't his words. It was like full perceptions dropping in one go. You'd have a whole concept go across to him, and a concept had come back. And there was a sense of welcoming, but it was the whole body sensation of welcoming dropping in one go. There was a sense of greeting after that. And then I got this sensation coming through of, how would I describe it? The totality of life. And it's trying to describe something with words that doesn't fit into words because it wasn't limited. There was a beauty, benefit, and completion in life itself, the life experience. And I could see that the life I'd had was actually beautiful and there was worth in it. Now, this was interesting because I'd been born up in a battered and abused home, and I certainly didn't, up till this moment, have that experience of my life. So to have that with life was quite a revelation in itself. And it changed my perspective on life. And it also was the thing that helped because at the moment that I knew it was time to come back, because I'd seen the beauty of life, it made me open to coming back. I knew within the experience I had the opportunity to stay or return, but I knew returning it wasn't demanded, but it was the preferred option. And I could see it, this was where I was still meant to go. It was like a choice, but it was like there was no choice. And I couldn't go but where that sense of life drew me. And there was other bits going back and forward of just the gentle presence, the encompassing love that is available for all beings and all of experience. It's like even experiences are made from love and felt in love and with love. And this was just everywhere. It's nothing was lacking love. And that's the one thing that surprised me. A lot of it was just helping me find a sense of presence within myself, peace within myself, and it was almost undoing the childhood I had in a way with the trauma of the childhood. It was being undone, and I was showing there was another way, which I think was also important for me feeling willing to come back and to actually feel something like that because I'd never felt anything like that in my life, being in an abusive home. it was lacking all of that. I couldn't have even told you what love felt like until I was in this place.